All right, how's everybody doing today? So we made it to the 21st or the 22nd, depending on which side of the earth you're on, right? So I just wanted to go over a couple things. So the twins' grueling birth, okay? Right here, day one. God created light and separated darkness, establishing day and night. Okay, so those are the two different realities. Okay, and this, with the firmament and everything, that's the current world we're under. Okay, so I don't know what has to happen between day one here and day four when we get, the sun, the moon, da 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 da. Because I think all this, and we're going to cover this in depth a little bit differently here in a minute. So basically, we ended the hopscotch board, we got to the 20th, and we created this. Okay, so that was the birth of both aspects. And we find that, I actually did some stuff to post here, so you guys know I'm just not making it up. Okay, so in Genesis 2:7, made man from the dust. Okay, so that's the nuclear dust we were talking about. That's the third temple, so to speak. Okay, because the first one, let's come all the way back here for a minute. Okay, I was in the right spot. I got sidetracked. So God, that's somebody's question. That's not even. Okay, right here. Genesis 1, right? Because over here, we're looking at Genesis 2:7. All right, so Genesis 1, we had God created in His image. All right. That's the original. That goes all the way back to the picture that I showed you. We were here for it all. It's just consciousness. Okay? And from here, it went to the planets, the two different realities, right? The male and the female. One was male dominant, one was female dominant. And right down here, okay, again, in His image, this is just a screenshot, so it's cut off short. Okay, so His and her image, like I said, you were something before. You picked, the whole thing. So let's get into, there's another thing here. Okay, day one, light and darkness. Day 2 is the sky and the sea. Day 3, you see all that. Man and woman. Okay. So we have that. And I know somewhere in here I had something else. But actually, okay, so they were actually built to be complementary to each other. Okay? And that's how it was. Like I said, there was a beginning, okay? All this actually took place, and then it stopped out here, okay? And now we're doing the big rewind thing. So all this was already laid out. That's why the Bible says it will be restored. So whatever this was before, we'll go back to that. Somewhere along the way, like I said, it's their image now, right? So all this that we're living out is actually, like I said, the thoughts that they had for us when they did this. They just didn't realize that by even touching us, it would destroy everything. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have done it. But that's where we get back into an upcoming power going against an established greater power, okay? Because I don't know what was built into this reality, so to speak. Like I said, they're all very similar. So, again, when you look at that yin and yang sign, right? You have a little hole here, you have a little hole here, right? And you have one of them's male dominant with the little female. They both had male and female in them. And one was female dominant with the little males here, which is probably how you see things play. Because remember, heaven and hell occur right here on earth, because this is the remnant, right? That's why all this duality exists, because both worlds are being walked through right now in one aspect or another, okay? So there was male and female. This is probably, in a female-driven society, this is why you see some males walking the planet that we call simps, because, in the reality of what I see going on social media, you have these guys that are just throwing money at women just to see their boobs. How unconscious is that? It's like I've discussed before, and I'm pretty sure I covered this in one of the podcasts I did with Raven. Sex is an actual byproduct, not the goal. And here it's been turned into the goal, right? They don't want to do the groundwork. They just want to jump to the end, right? Let's just get into the sex and we'll deal with this stuff. No, sex is a byproduct of this stuff. Sex, this doesn't happen without this. And it happens all the time, but that's, conscious decision versus unconscious decision, right? So anyhow, I'm going to show you something else. It kind of goes in line with all this, because I said once before, when people die, they see a light. Well, as soon as the sperm goes into the egg, we've talked about this one, there's a light there too. Okay, so this Maverick sent me, he found this over on X. Okay, when a human egg is fertilized, it releases a burst of zinc fireworks visible under the microscope. Every human life begins with a flash. The universe did the same thing. I wouldn't say it was 13 billion years ago, but it was on a larger scale. So right here, this initial flash, boom, that right there is okay. So that moment right there in the universe is the twins being born, the two different realities that live in the same space, different, and they had to be put, and it had to be done that way, if I'm not mistaken, just because, okay, just like as above, so below, right? In this reality, you're not going to hook up and marry your sister and have offspring, right? So they had to come from different places. And like I've said before, the old adage, men are from Mars, women are for Venus. Well, if you look at the solar system, they want to portray, you have the sun, right, which is called soul, S-O-L. This is where you get your soul from, all right? That's the energy inside that makes up who you are. Okay? But anyhow, they'll have Mercury here, Venus here, Earth here, and Mars here. Venus is the only planet that's inverted and spins the opposite way. I'm just saying. And between Mars and Venus stands Earth, right? This is Mars out here, this is Venus in here, and here stands Earth in between the two. Okay? So there's some significance to that. There's significance to all this. It just depends on the perspective, right? And I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. This is just how I see it play out. So that initial birth, that was the Artemis Apollo thing that we just went through yesterday. So we're into that timeline. Like I said, I just don't know if we have to come down here and get back to that 6th day again to redo it all. I thought for sure that just restoring the universe, if you will. Because remember, because again, when they talk peace and no peace, right? And I've been over this. If you know, if it's one thing leads to another. So if certain events led up to the destruction of everything, right here, we'll say, okay, that world. Then all they have to do, this is going to play out, period, right up to a certain point, and then we're going to flip, and that's where you have the church saying, oh, when they say peace and safety comes sudden destruction, because they think they get to leave. You know, the church holds himself in such high regard. And then all this shit's going to go down after we leave because we're the ones here keeping the peace. No. Have you... And again, that's why I said that book is for the Jewish Zions. I mean, if you look at our supposed history, right, they'll sit there and tell you that, you know, they've been warring over there since the beginning of time, correct? Or our documented his story. So again, it's to do away with the wars, the killing, you know, that lesser power feeling that it has to overtake the greater established power, right? So it is what it is. It's just, it's all a bunch of mumbo jumbo, quite honestly, in my book. But I wanted to find a video here. This is what I find so funny, and I'm probably not going to find it. It's so far down here. And I didn't want to spend all day doing this video because people got better things to do and listen to me do my little babble. And, you know, people think I'm crazy. But here, I'm going to, if I could find this real quick, I can show you exactly what your supposed organized religion does to people. And I might have to save that for a different video because I'm not exactly finding it now. But anyhow, so like I said, I don't know if we have to go to the 6th day again. Like I said, I thought maybe just restoring the 2 different realities. But at some point, okay, because the 2 different realities were made comparable to one another. And one got twisted. And I think that has to do with the lower reality instead of the comparable reality and certain women being made for certain men, and it talks about the fallen ones that slept with the women of man. I think that took place down here. Not real sure. But this is, I found while I was sitting here doing my mumbo jumbo, this is the video that I found. And I saw this a couple days ago.
Tribulation and the rapture happen at the same time, and you know, they had a restless sleep, no dreams, no anything until this morning. And so in this dream, it's a beautiful day, at least it looked like.
And so all these people are talking about, you know, supposedly Jesus coming to them in their dreams, and which we know that ain't happening. I don't know who's coming to these people. Now this woman just completely turns into a babbling whatever. That's exactly what your religion does. In fact, I'm going to go one step further here because I did pull up some interesting stuff. So let's go into, again, like a courtroom. Because, okay, in another video I talked about NESARA, whatever that is, that universal base pay. Okay, so that's what they tried to instill monetarily, when our universal base pay is called karma. Okay? And also, you know, everyone's back in the day was talking about the Mayan calendar. And I don't believe in coincidences, okay? But, you know, CERN's been talked about an awful lot, okay? And at one point, remember, they were looking for the God particle. And that was between the years of 2010 and 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar. Now, whether it was an actual CERN like we see today that opened that portal between dimensions and they reached through and touched us, I don't know. But here's something, again, for all the Bible thumpers that think they know what the hell's going on. Does hiding the truth constitute lying? I'll let you think about that one for a minute. That's called omission of truth, right? So if you're telling a story, but you're not telling all the facts, and you're omitting some things, does that still make it true? The whole reason that I bring this up is Satan is the deceiver, right? I mean, everybody talks about, he's a liar, he's this, he's that, he's the other. Well, that whole book is written in something called what? Parables? Allegories? Which is a story, but not 100%. So basically, everything in that book is written in the form of a lie. And which God wrote that then? Even that Jesus fella somewhere in here, and that's why I pulled him up. There is no truth in Satan, and everybody here worships Satan. I hate to tell you. That's how it is. So yeah, that was my little rant to go with my truth for today, because it's just so funny what's going on. In this, I find, okay, there's a big fire burning in California, and it's called the Sandy Fire. And right here, oh, is it going to come in? There we go. That's how many acres it's up to. And if you add all those together, it comes up with a 9. So I don't know what fire thing we're almost completing here. Maybe the earth being consumed by fire. That would be nice if it were to spit us out. But I've also talked about the sand. Okay, so people talking about, they're going to their bunkers. Nothing new under the sun. Their bunkers are probably green rooms. They go to them all the time so they're not out in public. It's where they hide, period. They ain't hiding from nuclear war. That shit is not going to happen. It already did happen. Everything already got destroyed once. But anyway, what I find significant about the name Sandy, because over there at NORAD, which is a bunker, Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado, is one of the larger inland dunes that you're going to find, just like sand on the beach. Now, an oyster can take a single grain of sand and in the dark turn it into a pearl, because it uses the existing light to do its photosynthesis to convert. It uses the light, part of us, that exists in the sand to make that pearl. I think all these beaches and all these droves of sand everywhere. In fact, the Middle East is covered in sand, and they've been warring since the beginning of time. Just another way I look at things. So anyway, we'll go back to here. We'll get over this. And what I find is very funny is people arguing over the birth of Israel. Now, some say it's May 14th. I'm telling you it's June 14th. That's Donald Trump's birthday, right? Symbolically, layer the onion, he is Israel. He's going to turn 80 on the 14th, not 77 or 78. Now, they have this little country over there that, they're throwing into the mix with an actual name of Israel, but which it is. It's convoluted, right? That's why I just laugh at all of it. So anyway, like I said, I don't know how far down this list we have to go to get to that point. If we go another 6 days to get down to here, that's going to put us somewhere around the 26th, give or take, right? And that's only another 5 days till the blue moon. So like I said, I don't know if we have to hit that blue moon. I need to go through and look at a bunch of lyrics that involve blue moon. But man, I just don't know if we have to go that far. It is what it is. because like right now I'm watching this chart. I'm not watching the calendars because they're all made up. I'm not watching half the shit the rest of the world's watching. Because if they push it, you know, just like the whole COVID scenario and the fixing for that, right? They were pushing it. Anything they push is not there. That's just the way I see it. All right, this video's gotten long enough. So yeah, love everybody. Stay dry, warm, cool. I don't know if people are under heat. I know we're getting lots of rain here that we weren't even supposed to get. So I don't know how that's going to pan out. So, but anyway, love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.